very briefly over the past 10 or 12 years since then. And
wow, well, I'll have to ask if he recalls that incident, and they're definitely crossing now. So
yes, it was in the Isaiah Effect in that book. It's an excellent book he wrote.
Wonderful. Well, I have found Gregg, so we're ready to move forward.
Terrific.
So would you like to first launch the energy healing, and then I can introduce our main guest here?
Absolutely.
Start
I'd
the
love
fun.
to. All right, so tonight on this workshop, what we'd like to do is have some great conversation about beliefs, and also some energy work that will help to shift the beliefs that are limiting you. So for you to participate in the energy portion of this workshop, which will be ongoing throughout the workshop as we're talking, you need to make a list of some of the beliefs you might have, your personal beliefs, that you feel are limiting you. And I'll give you just a few ideas. Some people believe they're not smart enough, or they always choose a bad romantic partner, or they don't manage money well, or they'll never succeed, or they'll never be healed of some condition in their body, or they have a fear or a phobia of some kind. So those kinds of beliefs and thousands of others can be addressed via energy work, because once we can deal with the feeling that was initially present that helped create the belief, and also that keeps it in place, once we can deal with that feeling, or some people call emotion, then it is much easier, sometimes almost immediate ability and opportunity to have a new view of life, which means we move into who we really are, which is an abundant, spontaneous, happy, free being. And so for the energy work portion of this call, I would like right now, if you would make a list of perhaps 4 beliefs that you have about yourself or about life that you believe are limiting you and holding you back. And we'll start the energy work in just a moment. And if anyone would like to be a part of this, you just need to know what's going to take place. We call that conscious consent, and know that you would like to have this change happen. And then we're going to sit quietly just for 4 or 5 seconds while the energy work begins. Then the energy will continue to work with those beliefs you selected until they have been addressed sufficiently, and then the change will continue all on its own, and we'll stop the show for just a moment and bring up another list of 4 or 5 beliefs. So make your lists and keep adding to them as you think of things. So right now, if you just bring to mind your 4 or 5 limiting beliefs that you would like to have different in your life, something you would like to be free from, just bring that to mind briefly right now, just very briefly. Great. Okay. And now we'll go ahead and continue with the show, and the energy will be addressing those beliefs during the time we'll be talking.
Okay. Stand by, Joe. We'll be bringing you in periodically here. But right now, it's time to introduce the other guest on the show now that we finally found him in the phone lineup. Gregg Braden. He is a best-selling author who is literally a pioneer in bridging science and spirituality. He has an extensive background in geological computer sciences with over 20 years of spiritual research under his belt. Lots of traveling to monasteries and remote villages and studying of forgotten texts and such, and of course a whole ream of books published, several of which I think we've talked about on the show, the Isaiah Effect, the God Code, and today, I think just released, Joe was saying, the Spontaneous Healing of Belief. His website is greggbraden.net, and I'm so happy to have you back on News for the Soul. Welcome, Gregg Braden, to News for the Soul again.
Hey, Nicole, Whitney, it's good to hear your voice. I'm glad to be discovered in your phone list there.
It was a lot of clicking, I got to tell you.
Joe Dunning, it's good to hear your voice. I haven't seen you for a number of years. I didn't know you were going to be with us tonight, and thank you for joining us on the program.
Hey, Greg, thanks. It's great to hear your voice, too.
Well, yeah, I think we're probably, are we in the same time zone right now? I'm in just outside of Taos, New Mexico.
I'm in 6 o'clock, 6:30 now about.
Oh, okay. You don't do daylight savings, and we did. That's what happened. So we're about seven something. So
great.
And Nicole, I was just where are you based, Nicole?
I'm still in Vancouver, BC, Canada. I think the last time you and I talked, we were on the air on CFUN up here. So
we were up there. I just came back from the other end of your country late last night. I was in Toronto for presentations over the weekend. So
wow.
So we're all triangulating here, and it's good to be on the program. I very much appreciate you inviting me back.
Oh, wonderful. It's been too long. So I'm very excited about the book. I've been reading it today and very excited about bringing all of this energy together because, you know, it's so powerful when, I'm always saying it's one thing to talk about these things, but another thing to actually be able to pull these into physical, you know, I hate even saying 3D form, but, you know, into our existence as opposed to sort of just intellectualizing on it, and your book really nails a lot of this stuff about the beliefs and that. So, you know, when did you start putting this together as far as...
Well, you know, it's interesting. These, there are a whole series of books that back in the 1980s when I started writing these books, they could have been one great big book, which didn't make a lot of sense and no publishers wanted the book that big, or I had to find logical breakpoints where each idea became its own book, and I've gone through. I was with Random House initially. I'm with Hay House right now, and they have really given me the freedom, both creatively, artistically, and in terms of the way the material is developed, to bring these ideas forward. So while every book stands on its own, they also dovetail into the ones previous and lay the foundation for the newer books. So last year, this time last year, we released a New York Times bestseller. It was entitled The Divine Matrix, and it was actually voted as a finalist for the best new science and cosmology book for 2007. And the reason I share that is it tells me, for a book to be in those categories, it tells me that we're finding the language that conveys these ideas, bridging science and spirituality and some of our most cherished spiritual traditions in very practical ways that make a lot of sense to a lot of people. That is why we're seeing the books on those lists. And with that in mind, as I was writing The Divine Matrix, there was a part of that book that could have been included, and my sense is it would be buried in the message of the book itself, or it could be broken out into its own book, and that was what I chose to do. So The Divine Matrix talks about the science now that acknowledges a universal field that underlies and connects everything, certainly in our world and beyond as far as we know. The field is out there, number one, it's a scientific fact. Number two, it's a scientific fact that we influence that field through the nonverbal language of feeling and emotion and belief. And that concept and those principles and the instructions that we found in the monasteries that tell us how to embrace these principles, to me that it was a standalone body of information, and it became the new book, The Spontaneous Healing of Belief. So for people who have read the other books, this takes us one step further. If you've never read the other books, it stands on its own. And it is precisely that. It documents the growing acceptance in the scientific community that we are born with a language that communicates literally with the stuff everything is made of, from our bodies to the rocks, trees, plants around us. It influences everything from healing within our bodies to peace within our communities, and ultimately peace between nations, relationships, spiritual, material abundance. That's all part of the same experience. And for 22 years now, we have spent a tremendous amount of time in some of the most isolated, remote, pristine places remaining on the earth that have preserved the records of how we use this language in our lives, the same records that were lost to the Western traditions, the Judeo-Christian traditions, when they were edited right out of our biblical texts in the 4th century. We find those records in the Dead Sea Scrolls and some of the Coptic libraries, but it's in these living traditions, such as the monasteries in Tibet, where we can walk in to see another human, eye to eye, heart to heart, man to man, woman to woman, God to God, and we can ask them, when we see you do these miraculous things, what's happening inside of your body? How do you do what you do? And this is what I've done my very best to document in the spontaneous healing of belief. So broad brushstrokes, it's